Hello, everybody. You might remember earlier on my colleague during Tristan's presentation. He was talking about how consumers are moving their viewing habits from traditional linear broadcast to OTT, and this subject has come up time and time again. Once upon a time, certainly when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, people used to sit down in front of the television. They might have their TV listings in the Radio Times, perhaps, or in the newspaper, and they would say, you know, what are we going to watch on the telly tonight? What should we watch on the box? But these days, it's more a case of you're more likely to hear something like, well, what should we binge on tonight on the Amazon Fire Stick? You know, things have moved on, things have changed, and we in the consumer electronics team at Futuresource really have to think about what impact this all has on the hardware landscape. What devices are people using to enjoy the streamed content as well as the broadcast content? And what does this mean for some of the legacy devices? And the set-top box is one, clearly, which is often talked about as being something which hasn't got much life left in it. Well, is that true? So over the next 15, 20 minutes, I'll just chew over some of these issues. First off, let's just have a quick run through the devices that we watch content on. We've got the broadcast set-top box. We also have the smart TV, digital media adapter, so that's your Chromecast, your Roku, Apple TV. We have games consoles, which of course one can stream content through. The smart Blu-ray player, laptops and tablets, of course, have been very popular for a number of years for streamed content. And then, of course, if you're out and about on the go, the smartphone is fantastic for watching video content as well. I did a quick count up, and I use about, I think, 5 of those on a regular, not quite daily basis, but along those lines. And I suspect you do too, and possibly even more. But what out there, are there any numbers? I mean, it's obviously a very complex scenario about how people are watching video content these days. But it is possible to quantify this, and at Futuresource we run a Living with Digital survey twice annually, and the findings are really interesting about how people's habits are changing. And one of the questions we ask is, what is your favorite device for watching streamed content? And we ask this of Netflix viewers, and across a number of different countries. I've profiled some of the countries here. So basically, what is your favorite device for watching Netflix? And this time around, we found that smart TV in each of the countries was actually their favorite device. And in the past, it has been, content has often been, as it were, trapped on smaller screens, often laptops and perhaps tablets as well. But things have really moved on, and this will clearly be music to the ears of LG and Samsung, who for a decade or more have been pushing smart TV as the device of choice, if you like. I don't know if you've got any guesses as to what comes up as second, but it's digital media adapters. So again, Chromecast, Roku, Apple TV, etc. And that came second in 3 of these 5 countries, a pretty clear second. It was only beaten in Spain and Italy by laptops and tablets. And then we have ancillary other devices. So, for example, we've got games consoles, people perhaps watching, linking up their PC to the screen, various different ways people like to get content to a large screen. And the eagle-eyed of you may notice that the set-top box actually appears only once, bottom right there, and that's in France. 8% of Netflix subscribers there are saying that they do actually watch and enjoy watching it on the set-top box, but it only comes 5th. So the growth in the uptake of these devices and all these services is obviously fueling the opportunities, if you like, both for content providers and for hardware vendors, as well as us as consumers, to enjoy the content. But where are we with this content? You know, pay TV broadcasters, what are they doing about this? You know, what's available away from the traditional set-top box? just skip through that, excuse me. We have here in the States, we've got pay TV companies broadening their reach. DirecTV, they have made it so their content, or at least some of their content, is available across media adapters, smart TV, PC, mobile as well. That's not to say all the content is available across all of these means of dispersion, but mostly so. Charter has also worked very hard on this, formerly Time Warner Cable. Meanwhile, Comcast is available on mobile, but is still to be available on DMA and PC. It did make an inroad into smart TV. It had a relationship with Samsung for a while, but that wasn't maintained. Elsewhere in the UK, we have obviously Sky has been a world leader in this, quite frankly, available in a number of different means, making content available to people on the move, on the go, wherever they want it, whenever they want it. Of course, they've got their Now TV box. They're available on Roku boxes as well. And we see Virgin available web and mobile, BT obviously making content available too. So elsewhere, Germany, Vodafone, Unity Media, Sky, and in France too, we have key pay TV operators broadening the availability of their content. They want as much content available as possible to reach as many eyeballs as they possibly can. I'd like to just pause for a moment. I should have just had a look at some numbers about the actual availability of the hardware. This is really important because the pay TV operators themselves, if they're going to make content available, they need to know the penetration of those devices. And as you can see, that the ownership of the hardware really is growing very strongly. Legacy products such as the non-smart TVs, if you like, and basic home video players, those are falling away very rapidly. There's how far they've declined in the last 4 years in North America. There are now 97 million households in the US with TVs that aren't smart TVs, and basic video players, that's fallen to 47 million households. So really sharp falls in more traditional means of watching video content. Meanwhile, we see set-top boxes actually grown. That's IP set-top box, so devices that not only receive broadcast content, but can also handle over-the-top content. And we're now on 106 million households, so over 14% growth versus 4 years before. But the real growth we're seeing in digital media adapters, as I described, that's trebled in the last 4 years, ownership in North America. And smart TV as well, that's grown by 253%, so massive growth here. And we're also seeing some growth with smart Blu-ray and games consoles. So these are devices which you can stream IP through direct, so you can get access to OTT content. So what we're seeing here is, of course, a huge growth in product ownership. And that's not just the case in North America, which we often think of as blazing the trail, but also the case in Western Europe, where we're seeing similar trends. We've seen an even more dramatic decline in regular broadcast TV that isn't smart. The ownership has, well, it's almost halved, doesn't it? Frankly, the digital switchovers have led people to replace TV sets, and they've often been smart TV sets. Also, we see home video devices, that's falling away very rapidly as well, 23% decline, so less reliance just simply on the basic disc player. Meanwhile, IP set-top boxes, that's an area of quite substantial growth actually, 39% in the last 4 years. Where's that come from? Well, it's been the IP providers, the Vodafones, the TalkTalks, those companies that are very keen to roll out broadband services to grab more subscribers to broadband. And one of the ways they've been doing that, of course, for a number of years is also rolling out TV services. So the growth of the IP connected set-top box is actually quite strong in Europe. Meanwhile, we talk about smart TV. That's up 163%, so 79 million households. That's around half of European households now, Western European households, which possess a smart TV. Media adapters, strong growth as well, and likewise with Blu-ray and games consoles. So you can see that that hardware is definitely there, and that's why, of course, these pay TV companies have been rolling out their services. But one of the questions is, if they roll out these services, what are the dangers? Why are they? What are they trying to achieve? And particularly with rolling out beyond the traditional set-top box, what are the problems, or what are some of the benefits of going beyond the set-top box? Well, traditionally, pay TV operators have rather very much favoured set-top boxes. They offer a quality of service which is hard to beat. We know that, of course, pay TV operators, they spec out their own products. They ensure they get rolled out. They try to deploy as fewer different types of devices as possible, so they know exactly what's out there. If there is going to be a problem with a box, then there's a call centre and people know who to call, and the problem, that there'll be relatively limited problems, and they can get them fixed. Also, the case of content security. This is super important, of course, to premium content providers. There's very sophisticated content protection software on set-top boxes, and if the content isn't guaranteed to be secure from piracy, then some of the premium content providers to the platforms may well actually say, well, you can't have it. Walled garden and selected OTT content. This is something else which pay TV providers offer through their set-top boxes. Of course, they don't want their consumers, their viewers, their subscribers to be looking anywhere else if they can possibly help it. So a set-top box offers a certain number of channels and selected OTT content. They have invited others into OTT content. So, for example, Netflix can be found on some pay boxes, of course. But it's pretty much a walled garden. The experience is managed by the pay TV provider. It also enables them to offer additional services. So it could be DVRs with a hard disk drive, ultra high definition TV. These are things that can be rolled out in a uniform fashion using set-top boxes, which maybe will be deployed for 3 to 4 years. So a much quicker turnaround than you might find for a smart TV, which may be 7 or 8 years traditionally. So this is all about subscriber retention, and that's why pay TV providers like to use boxes. But there are, of course, some problems attached to that, and not least of which is cost. There was around $2 billion, more than $2 billion spent in Western Europe last year by pay TV operators on these boxes. So it's a big commitment to the subscriber, if you like, rolling out the traditional style box. And from the consumer point of view, it's yet another device under the TV. I mean, these days we like less wires. We like things to be nice and clean and tidy, and a set-top box with the relevant cabling. And don't forget, there's also the remote control to go with it. That is also something which people aren't so appreciative of these days. But that said, there is around 20 million units going to ship this year of pay TV set-top boxes, and that's around 1% decline. So no, we're not talking about the death of the set-top box today or tomorrow. And then what about an app on a third-party device? So they offer greater reach geographically and device-wise. We talked about all the different devices that one can watch TV on. For content to be made available on these other devices makes a lot of sense. It's cheaper to maintain, to attract, if you like, and maintain subscribers who are lower value on, let's say, a media adapter or a smart TV. And because, of course, they don't have to roll out the box and have a contract for a year, all of that isn't necessary. It's just an app on perhaps a Roku box. So if you want to get content for perhaps sport for a night or just a short-term subscription, often it's better for the consumer and for the pay TV provider to provide it through a third-party device. And of course, what's driving this is what they call cord shaving, where people aren't giving up altogether on paid-for TV content, but they feel they don't need the full-on, the whole dish type subscription scenario. Meanwhile, we have quality of service issues as an inhibitor, if you like. Can premium quality programming definitely be provided through all these different third-party devices in a quality fashion? That's very important. And the content security. Whilst the set-top box has got the content protection software on the device, third-party devices, media streamers, games consoles, etc., that isn't the case. And also the IP infrastructure. Do we have, as we shift more and more to IP, can the internet backbone of this country or any other country actually handle the amount of content? We've all had that frustrating experience, haven't we, where we see that kind of circle of doom when we're streaming something and it stops. It's kind of okay in the first 2 minutes if it happens, but if it happens in the last 2 minutes, that's deeply frustrating. So there is a factor here which is an inhibitor for purely IP delivery. And of course, broadband availability and speed, as Tristan mentioned earlier on, that is also a factor here within countries and even within counties and within different homes. So those are other issues that mean that traditional broadcast, satellite, cable, etc., still have a strong role to play. So if we're not looking at traditional set-top box and we are looking at third-party devices, let's just have a little look at the key devices here. Smart TV. There's traditionally a very large demand for displays, of course, and it strikes me and most people that if you're going to be watching on a big screen and you want to get OTT content, what more elegant solution could you possibly have than it's a smart TV? There's no extra boxes, no extra cables. It's just, that's it. You've got it on your TV instantly. And of course, Samsung and LG have particularly driven this, and we have Android TV as well. A number of different TV vendors pulled back from maintaining their own platforms and went for Android TV. So those are all big drivers, if you like, big benefits that a smart TV has, at least theoretically. But there are some issues attached to this. The replacement cycle of the TV, as I touched on earlier, as long as people's screen is big enough, and I know that there's obviously that trend towards larger screens, and looks beautiful enough with 4K and UHD, etc., people aren't desperate to replace their set sooner than maybe 6 or 7 years. Whereas the apps that are required to drive all the various OTT services that there are these days, they can get stranded. TVs which are 3 or 4 years old suddenly don't have the processing power, the oomph, if you like, to handle all the apps. And you suddenly find that services which you were watching on the TV, it doesn't work as well as it did, and then the support stops. So that's happened with YouTube on a number of older smart TVs, some of the first generation smart TVs, for example. But before the TVs had actually, their life, natural life had expired. So there are some issues there to do with replacement cycles. And then user interface. That's another issue that's been there in the past, where the TV is trying to be doing too much, a single remote control, trying to do all the things that a TV does, and also handle OTT content. In the past, those interfaces haven't been as good as might have been hoped. That is improving, and we're seeing more and more movement into voice, for example, and content search and discovery. There's been a lot of work being done on that by the TV brand. So that is improving as time's gone by, but it has traditionally been an inhibitor. So smart TV, around 19 million units will ship this year in Western Europe, and that's 6% up on the year before. As I say, around 40, moving towards 50% of Western European households with a smart TV. A digital media adapter is the main competitor to the smart TV. If we're looking at over-the-top content, they've got so many advantages. Google, Apple, Amazon, and let's not forget Roku and others pushing these devices. Those three global companies, as we've touched on once or twice earlier in this afternoon, these guys are very keen to drive their services into your home, into our homes, and drive uptake to their services, advertising as well. So they're not there really to be hardware vendors. They're there to be content suppliers and beneficiaries of your subscribing to their services. Dedicated devices, slick interfaces, that's definitely what all these media adapters have got. They're cheap, they're so cheap, easy to upgrade. You can own multiple and indeed buy more than one so that you can access different content services because not one adapter has all the services, of course. The only downside really is it's another remote control that you might lose. Often they're even smaller than this. And then finally, that's around 13 million units we figure this year, so that's 16% up on the year before. So a big growth area there for getting OTT content to the screen. And then the final devices that I'll just touch upon, games consoles and smart Blu-ray, both devices which traditionally live around the TV set anyway. They're effective streamers for those who play games or enjoy discs. But people wouldn't ordinarily go out to buy those relatively expensive devices merely to get streamed content. The games as well, the remote controls are a bit tricky for those who aren't gamers. So really that's an area which is, in terms of ownership, is peaking, and we don't expect to see great growth in terms of use of those devices for streamed content. However, still around 15 million units this year. Blu-ray is falling, but games consoles are riding the wave of new generation consoles. So that's up 11% this year. So a range of different devices there for consumers to be enjoying OTT content. It's a complex landscape out there. We know that move from broadcast to IP is an irreversible trend, but for some of the reasons I've outlined, it will take time to move from A to B, in fact, many years. And the set-top box will remain part of that landscape for some years to come. And as somebody once described, and will no doubt be described again, the set-top box is kind of like the cockroach in a nuclear winter. You know, it will be one of the things that just survives this whirlwind of other developments in content and hardware. Okay, I think I'm out of time.
Yes.
So thanks for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.